Hello, art lovers. Welcome to the tourist guide for those who love mystery and a touch of Gothic. The Isle of the Dead. Nothing quite evokes a relaxing weekend getaway like a trip to a desolate land surrounded by an eerie sea, right? If you're looking for your next vacation destination, with a hint of Gothic charm and an atmosphere that makes a horror movie seem like a romantic comedy, you might want to book a one-way ticket to this enigmatic paradise. Yes, you read that right, a one-way ticket. But let's take it step by step. The Isle of the Dead is the masterpiece of Arnold Böcklin, a 19th century Swiss painter who apparently never considered painting something cheerful. Like, I don't know, kittens playing or a nice countryside picnic. No, good old Arnold preferred to transport us to this island, which looks like the last place you'd want to visit. Alive. An island, 5 versions, none happy. Here's a fun fact. Böcklin painted the Isle of the Dead not once, but 5 times. Yes, 5. And you're probably wondering, why on earth would someone want to repeat a nightmare 5 times? Maybe he didn't have Photoshop back then? Or more likely, the island kept calling him, and keeps calling anyone who looks at it. Each version is slightly different, but the concept remains the same. A solitary, eerie island with towering cliffs and dark cypress trees, all bathed in an atmosphere so silent that even the scariest cemetery would feel like a joke. Oh, and of course, there's a mysterious boat approaching. On board, a white figure. The death? A particularly Gothic tourist? Who knows? The figure seems to say, "Welcome aboard. Next stop, eternal vacations with no return." The mysterious boat. But let's talk more in depth about this boat that has practically stolen the show. Some think Böcklin intended to represent Charon, the ferryman of Hades. If that's true, props to the customer service of the underworld. The style is impeccable. No cheap rubber boats here, just a vintage vessel with a sarcophagus-like statue. Classy travel to the afterlife. But who's really on that boat? Böcklin never explained, leaving room for theories more bizarre than a neighborhood council meeting. Some believe it's simply a dead person on vacation. Others swear it's a representation of our very own soul, while pessimists argue it's a preview of our personal funeral cruise. Choose the interpretation that brings you the most comfort. Böcklin's inspiration. So, what inspired Arnold to paint this gloomy masterpiece? Apparently, his wife asked him for a painting that conveyed the silence of the night. Okay, maybe Arnold overdid it a bit with his artistic interpretation. And there's more. The island in the painting might be inspired by a real place. Some see traces of Greece in the rocks. According to the art critic Hans Hollenweg, the natural location most similar to the one in the painting would be the island of San Giorgio, a small island in the Bay of Kotor, an inlet on the Dalmatian coast of the Adriatic, with an abbey and a small cemetery whose walls resemble the rocky cliffs of the painting, along with the presence of cypress trees. Sure, if these locations remind you of the afterlife, maybe you should rethink your travel guides. But that's not all. Some say the island could evoke a cemetery in Florence, Italy, where one of the artist's daughters is buried. A personal touch that makes it all the more, intimate, doesn't it? The island. With its mystery, the Isle of the Dead has fascinated and unsettled not only the public, but also some unlikely celebrities. Friedrich Nietzsche, yes, that Nietzsche, declared that this painting perfectly represented his state of mind. Well, can you blame him? But it doesn't stop there. Adolf Hitler owned a personal copy because, obviously, this is exactly the kind of decoration you'd want hanging in your living room. And there's more. From music to cinema, the Isle of the Dead has inspired songs, films, and even video game levels. So, when you feel like the island is staring back at you, maybe it really is. The 4th version. There's a mystery surrounding the 4th version of the painting. Of all the copies, this one has vanished. No one knows where it is today. Some say it was destroyed during World War II and survives only as a black and white photograph. Others think it's sitting in a private collection, perhaps hanging above the fireplace of some supervillain who took their art collection a bit too seriously. And us? We can only speculate on where it ended up, or hope we don't find it on some shady online auction. Conclusion. In the end, like every great work of art, the Isle of the Dead has no single interpretation. You can see it as the fear of death, the allure of the afterlife, the loneliness of the human soul, or just a particularly unlucky spot for a picnic? Böcklin never gave us a definitive explanation, and maybe that's for the best. The Isle of the Dead is like a puzzle that each of us has to solve, with a hint of dread and a nervous chuckle. So, the next time you find yourself staring at this painting, you've got two options. Let your mind drift toward thoughts of the immortality of the soul, or perhaps book a mysterious vacation. But remember, the island awaits, and it's always a one-way trip.